Meanwhile, when Demetrius heard that Nicanor and his army had fallen in battle, he sent Bacchides and Alcimus back into Judea, along with the right wing of his army. They marched along the road that leads to Gilgal and set up camp at the ascent to Arbela. They then captured the town and killed many of its people. In early spring, during the 152nd year of Greek rule, they set up camp outside Jerusalem. Then they marched on to Berea near Jerusalem with 20,000 foot soldiers and 2,000 horsemen. Now Judas and 3,000 of his select troops had set up camp in Elasa. When they saw the size of the enemy army, they became very frightened. Many deserted the camp until no more than 800 men remained. Seeing that only a fraction of his army was left and that the battle was imminent, Judas became discouraged because he had no time to gather more forces. But even though he was dismayed, he said to those who remained, "Let us get up and face our enemies. We may still have the strength to fight them." His men tried to dissuade him, saying, "We don't have the strength. We should save our lives and return to fight them with more of our fellow Israelites. There are too few of us now." But Judas said, "I would never think of running from them. If our time has come, let us die bravely for our people and leave no blemish on our reputation." The army of Bacchides moved out of camp and took positions for combat. The horsemen were divided into two groups, and the slingers and the archers went ahead of the army, as did the best fighters. The ranks of foot soldiers were flanked by horsemen on either side, and Bacchides was on the right flank. The army advanced as it sounded its trumpets, and Judas's soldiers sounded their trumpets as well. The earth shook at the noise of the armies, and the battle continued from morning until evening. Judas saw that Bacchides and the stronger part of his army were on the right, so Judas led his bravest men and drove back the right flank, chasing them to Mount Azotus. The soldiers on the left flank realized that the right flank was beaten, so they turned to chase Judas and those who were with him, attacking them from the rear. The fighting became very intense, and both sides lost many men. Then Judas was killed, and the rest of his men fled. Jonathan and Simon took their brother Judas and buried him in the tomb of their ancestors at Modane. For many days, all Israel mourned deeply for him, saying, "The mighty hero, the Savior of Israel, has fallen." The rest of the deeds of Judas, his battles, his heroic acts, and his great achievements, have not been recorded here, but there were many of them. After the death of Judas, the ungodly came out of hiding throughout Israel, and evildoers reappeared. In those days, there was a very severe famine, and the country eventually sided with the ungodly. Bacchides chose wicked men to administer the affairs of the country. These people searched out Judas's friends and brought them to Bacchides, who punished and publicly humiliated them. There had not been such distress in Israel since the day the last prophet was seen in Israel. All Judas's friends said to Jonathan, "Ever since your brother Judas died, there has been no one like him to fight Bacchides and our enemies and to deal with our own people who despise us. Therefore, we have chosen you today to succeed him as our ruler and commander so that you can lead us into battle." So Jonathan became leader in place of his brother Judas. When Bacchides heard about this, he tried to kill Jonathan. But Jonathan and his brother Simon and the others who were with them learned of the plot, and they fled into the wilderness of Tekoa. They set up camp by the pool of Asphah. Bacchides learned of this on the Sabbath, So he and his army crossed the Jordan. Jonathan sent his brother John to lead a convoy to ask their friends, the Nabateans, if they would store the Israelites' sizable amount of baggage. However, the sons of Jambri came from Medeba, seized John and all his possessions, and took him away. Sometime later, Jonathan and his brother Simon learned that the sons of Jambri had planned a large wedding. The bride was the daughter of one of the great princes of Canaan, and they were planning to bring her from Nedabath in a splendid procession. Remembering the bloody death of their brother John, Jonathan and Simon went up and hid themselves in the hills. As they peered out, they saw a great crowd and a caravan laden with possessions. The bridegroom came out with his relatives and friends to meet the procession with tambourines, musical instruments, and a pompous military display. Then the Israelites rushed from their ambush and began killing them, and many of them died. The survivors fled into the mountains, leaving all their possessions behind to be captured by the Jews. So the wedding was turned into an occasion for mourning, and the joyful music into a dirge. When Jonathan and Simon had taken revenge for the death of their brother, they returned to the marshes of the Jordan. As soon as Maccabees heard about this, he came on the Sabbath to the banks of the Jordan with a large army. Jonathan said to his men, "Get up. We must fight for our lives. For this is a new and desperate situation. The battle is now in front of us. The river Jordan is behind us, and marshes and woods are on either side of us. There is no escape. Therefore, pray to God that you may be rescued from your enemies." Then they began to fight. Jonathan's army attacked the forces of Maccabees, but then Jonathan and his men retreated and escaped. Jonathan and his men jumped into the Jordan and swam over to the other side, but the enemy did not follow. That day, 1,000 of Maccabees' men were killed. After returning to Jerusalem, Maccabees built strongholds throughout Judea. He built fortresses with high walls, gates, and bars in Jericho, Emmaus, Beth Horon, Bethel, Timnath, Pharathan, and Tephon. Maccabees placed garrisons in them to harass the Israelites. He fortified the towns of Beth Zur and Gazara and also the citadel, and he put troops in them, along with provisions. He took as hostages the sons of the leading men of the country and imprisoned them in the citadel at Jerusalem. In mid-spring of the 153rd year of Greek rule, Alcimus ordered that the walls separating the Gentiles from the inner court of the temple be torn down, thereby destroying the works of the prophets. But he had hardly started this when he suffered a stroke. Paralyzed and speechless, he could no longer give commands even in his own home, so the work stopped. Then Alcimus died in great agony. After he learned that Alcimus had died, Maccabees returned to the king, and Judea had peace for 2 years. Then the ungodly began to plot, saying, "Jonathan and those with him live in peace and are full of confidence. Let us bring Maccabees back, and he can capture them all in one night." So they went to Maccabees and advised him to carry out this plan. Maccabees set out with a large army, and he sent secret letters to his military allies in Judea, instructing them to seize Jonathan and his men. But this failed because Jonathan learned of the plot. His men captured about 50 people in Judea who were the ringleaders of the plot, and they killed them. Then Jonathan, Simon, and their followers withdrew to Beth-Barsi in the wilderness, and they rebuilt and fortified it. When Maccabees found out what they had done, he gathered his entire army and sent word to his allies in Judea. They set up camp outside Beth-Barsi, and they made siege weapons and attacked the town for many days. Jonathan left his brother Simon in the town and went out into the country with a few men. He struck down Odomorah and his family and the sons of Phaseron in their tents. Then he attacked Bacchides's army. Simon and his troops rushed out of the town and set the siege weapons on fire. They fought against Bacchides and overcame him, inflicting great losses on him, and his planning and effort came to nothing. Bacchides was angry with the renegades who had advised him to come into their country, so he killed many of them. Then he decided to return to his own country. When Jonathan heard about this retreat, he sent ambassadors to Bacchides to offer peace and obtain the release of the captives. Bacchides accepted the terms and kept his word, swearing that he would do Jonathan no harm as long as he lived. Bacchides released the prisoners he had taken previously from Judea, returned to his own country, and never again set foot in Judea. So war ended in Israel, and Jonathan settled in Michmash, where he judged the people and rooted out the wicked from Israel.